Whipple Family Misadventures, Book 1. Welcome to the Parent of an Alien Hedgehog Club, Chapter 17. Shadow's eyes were closed, so he couldn't see who was coming into their yard, but he heard footsteps all the same. On alert, he cracked one eye open slightly and saw that it was Tom. Shadow still wasn't sure about him, but both Wade and Sonic said he was okay.
What's going on here?
The four of them were on the porch while Wade was using a hairdryer borrowed from a neighbor in an attempt to get the glitter out of their fur. It wasn't working very well, and what did manage to come off was only going into the snow.
Keep your eyes closed so you don't get glitter in them,
Wade said as the hairdryer was currently pointed at his quills, and Shadow shut his eyes again obediently.
Sonic, tell your father what you brought over here.
Well, remember how Caitlin talked about that person in Great Falls who kept seeing her packages stolen? And then you showed me that video about the guy who made a glitter bomb revenge package?
They didn't.
They did, and decided to make it in my living room.
As soon as Wade stopped pointing the hairdryer at him, Shadow opened his eyes again. Tom looked like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had turned towards the three of them.
And you guys thought it was a good idea building a glitter bomb?
Both Silver and Sonic lowered their ears, and after a moment, Shadow did too. He still couldn't believe how much the two of them used their ears or tail to be expressive. Sometimes he copied the movements he saw them do later in the mirror. Before he met either of them, he never knew he could move his ears so much. When he was very little, he had wagged his tail, but someone he couldn't remember who had said that he looked stupid, so he stopped. It was still strange being around other hedgehogs, but he was getting more used to it. For a long time, he had wondered if there was something wrong with him, why he looked so different from humans. But now he knew. There was another planet full of hedgehogs and other creatures like him. Sonic once mentioned maybe they could go back there, but Shadow wasn't sure. At least not right now. He was still getting used to this planet and all of the humans here. He didn't want to start all over again.
I didn't know it would be so hard to make one.
No one asked Shadow for his thoughts or opinions, which suited him just fine. He didn't feel like talking and was content to remain silent, especially while Tom was here.
Either way, glitter is now banned from this house. No more glitter anything, which includes this.
He picked up the half-full bag of glitter that Sonic had arrived with, the one that had been immediately taped shut. He handed it to Tom.
I never want to see this thing again.
Tom took it, wincing like it was painful. Shadow didn't understand why he did that.
I'm so sorry. How bad is the mess?
Really bad.
Wade said as he turned the full blast of the hairdryer onto Silver.
In 5 years from now, we'll still be finding glitter from this. How's work going?
Not bad, but I could really use your help tomorrow with some stuff. Nothing big, but I just don't have enough hands and it won't be out of control by the time you get back.
I should be able to come in after lunch. By tomorrow, I'll probably have more errands to run afterwards.
Watching as the wooden porch under them became more and more sparkly as a small cloud of glitter drifted off, Shadow wondered if he and Silver would be taken with Wade to his work. Silver had mentioned that the first few days he had been with the human, he had gone to work. Shadow still wasn't sure what Wade did. Sometimes the man would say to himself about how it was time to go to work, but that was usually before he started cleaning or something. Maybe when he went to work, he cleaned. Maybe when he went to work, he cleaned. Wade did like to clean the house a lot. It seemed more important to him, as he spent a lot of time doing it. That might have been why he was unhappy about the glitter. It was difficult to clean anyway. It only seemed to move from one object to another, not really leaving. Shadow was just starting to think about cleaning and if they might be expected to help when he heard his name, a hand waving in front of his nose. He blinked and looked up to see both Silver and Wade peering down at him with strange looks on their faces. Sonic and Tom were no longer here, He must have zoned out while he thought, staring into the distance blankly, and they left when he wasn't paying attention. The professor and the other scientists used to get upset or angry at him when he did that, because he wasn't paying attention to what was going on around him. They didn't like that. But Wade didn't get upset.
It's cold out here, so we're going inside.
Now that Wade had brought it up, Shadow noticed it was cold. Not snowing, but the wind was blowing, making the tree branches wave. He could feel it ruffling his fur.
All right, but I thought we had to get all of the glitter off first.
Yeah, but it's too cold to stay out here.
Instead of going back inside, Wade just looked at him and Shadow looked back, confused to what he wanted.
That means you too, bud.
Oh,
Shadow wasn't sure why he didn't just say that, but humans rarely said what they meant. It was the same language he spoke, but it was so different at the same time, and it left him very confused so much of the time. Getting to his feet, he followed Silver and Wade back into the house. The living room looked the same way it did before they went outside. The couch and the coffee table still had a layer of glitter on them.
are you going to clean now?
Shadow asked as he suspected the answer was yes. Wade nodded.
I'll try.
He first used a broom to clean off the coffee table and get some of the glitter off the couch, then got a vacuum cleaner, which made strange noises. Shadow watched fascinated as the man used it to try and get rid of the glitter. He wanted to know how it worked and where the dirt and glitter and everything else went after the tube took it away. But he didn't get a chance to ask, as Wade suddenly turned it off and looked.
This isn't working.
Looking up at him, Shadow waited for what they would try next.
You know what? This carpet is old, and I'm never getting all of this glitter out, so I think we should just get rid of the carpet.
Shadow frowned at the carpet. It was very large and covered the entire living room, and there was furniture on top of it, which made the problem even more difficult.
But how are you going to do that?
Silver asked, which was the exact same thing Shadow was thinking. Wade stood up.
Well, first we need to move all the furniture, and then we'll go to pulling the carpet. And then we're going to just throw it away. All of it. No more carpet. At least in the living room.
Shadow thought about that for a moment.
I think the carpet's too big for the trash.
It is too big.
Wade told him in a voice that didn't sound like he was upset or annoyed by what Shadow had said.
That's why we're gonna take it to the curb. Once the garage truck comes on Friday morning, they'll take it away with the rest of the garbage.
He only wanted to know when the carpet would leave.
Now it goes outside.
That's right.
Wade told him as he dragged the couch back to its spot.
You guys want to help me get it outside?
They were going to do just that, about to follow him out the door when Wade suddenly stopped walking. So fast that Silver walked right into his legs.
Never mind. You two stay in the house.
The change in his tone to a far more serious one made Shadow go on alert, wondering if something was about to happen, if they were safe or not. It was yet again that he wished he was taller so he could see over the carpet pile and Wade. He didn't get much of a chance to see as Wade shut the door in their faces, hard. Surprised, he looked at Silver, who looked just as confused.
Did you hear anything?
Silver asked, and Shadow shook his head. The gray hedgehog made a beeline for the window, and Shadow followed after him. But he wasn't tall enough to look out, and he couldn't hover like Silver could. Then, he remembered how Wade brought a step stool home a few hours ago and fetched one, using it so he could look out. There was a strange red car parked in front of their yard, where Tom had parked when he had come over earlier. Wade had abandoned the carpet on the porch and had gone over to talk to the person. His back was to them.
Who is that?
Shadow squinted but couldn't really tell as it was too far away to see very much, especially since the driver stayed in the car. All he could see was the other person was a human and had hair on his face. Not like how the professor did that stuck out from his cheeks, but went down off the chin. Humans were so strange. They said they only had hair on the top of their heads, but sometimes they had hair elsewhere.
Have you seen that person before? Can you hear what they're saying?
No.
Shadow said and then strained his ears as hard as he could, but he couldn't make out a single word. They were just too far away. Wade made a single gesture at the car, drove away, leaving Wade standing in the front yard alone. Finally, he turned and walked back towards the house. He had gone back to looking unhappy, a big scowl on his face, and was holding something in his hand. Scrambling down, both of them were waiting at the door for him when he opened it.
Who was that?
No one.
Wade said. Now that Wade was inside, Shadow could see it was a piece of paper that he was holding, which he crumbled into a ball and shoved it into his pocket.
But why was...
You guys don't need to worry about him.
In saying that, he revealed that it had been another man in the car.
We're fine. Let's just finish with the carpet and then I'll start on dinner.
He smiled at them, but it didn't look very happy. It looked fake and forced. Shrugging, Shadow only went back outside to help drag the carpet out. Shadow would have completely forgotten about that strange man if it wasn't for what happened later that night.
Did either of you do your chores yet?
Wade asked after he paused the movie they were watching, a towel slung over his shoulders.
No.
Silver said, and Shadow shook his head.
Then hop to it. Your bedtime is in half an hour. And once that's done, can both of you please tidy up your bedroom? It's becoming a tripping hazard. When you're done, you can finish the movie.
That said, he walked towards the bathroom and shut the door. A few moments later, the shower turned on. Shadow would have much preferred to keep watching the movie. He didn't understand why that much stronger monsters thought the human children they worked with were toxic, but maybe they had a good reason. So far, Shadow hadn't met any human children, and maybe this would explain why he needed to stay away from them. But Wade had told them that they needed to do their chores, so he stood up. While Silver went to wrestle with the trash bag and get it outside, Shadow did a hurriedly check on the firewood in the living room and decided the amount was fine, at least for another day. He would have much rather gone back to the movie first, but he had to do the bedroom first. It wasn't as bad as Wade made it out to be. Yes, there were several blankets on the floor, several loose socks, and both of their shoes, along with a sea of Legos. But it wasn't a tripping hazard, as most of this mess was Silver's fault. He could clean it, Shadow decided. Somehow, glitter had already found its way into their room. Maybe they'd never get rid of it. After putting his own shoes away, and since the blankets had been pulled out by him, he started to gather them up. When there was a pounding of feet in the hallway and Shadow glanced up as Silver all but raced into their room.
Look what I found!
Abandoning the blankets, Shadow crossed the room and glanced down at the crumpled piece of paper Silver was clenching.
It's the one from earlier. I think the one Batman gave to Dad.
Shadow's eyes widened.
Where did you get it?
It was in the trash. Dad must have thrown it away. I wasn't digging in the trash. It fell out.
He added hurriedly, as if he thought Shadow might ask him about it. Shadow didn't really care. That was one thing that he liked that he had in common with Silver. Both of them had previously taken care of themselves alone, sometimes eating trash or even worse to stay alive when there was nothing else. He didn't think he could handle it if someone was mean to him about that. Taking the piece of paper from Silver, he started to smooth it out so both of them could look at it. Unfortunately, whoever had written it had used letters that neither of them had ever seen and could barely even recognize it. Instead of the letters being separated like they usually were, they were all connected for some weird reason and looked all fancy but unreadable. It made things far more difficult.
What's it say?
Shadow just frowned at it.
I'm not sure.
He finally admitted. He scanned the note again and noticed something near the bottom.
Numbers?
Like a phone number?
Carefully, Shadow counted the number of digits near the bottom.
I think so. Maybe he wanted Wade to call him.
Silver's eyes lit up.
We could call him and just ask why he came here.
How? I don't have a phone, and neither do you.
Or Dad does.
Our dad, he said so casually and confidently as if it was that simple. Shadow wanted to say it too, but the word always got stuck in his throat. Sometimes when he was alone, Shadow whispered it to himself or said it to the mirror. Dad, Dad, Dad. He didn't doubt that Wade would be okay with it. He just wasn't sure if he could actually say it or not. Shaking his head, Shadow forced himself to consider the second part of that statement. Wade did have a mobile phone, and he was currently in the shower, and the phones didn't belong in water. If they were fast, he would never know they called the mysterious man instead of cleaning their bedroom.
Okay, go see if it's in his bedroom.
The other hedgehog hurried off and came back seconds later, the dark, sleek phone in his hands.
I think you should call him. You sound older.
That was very nice of him to say, and Shadow took the phone, trying not to look too pleased. He didn't want to talk to a stranger, but Silver did have a point. Now there was glitter on the phone, but Wade wouldn't know it was from them. Like he said, it was already getting everywhere. His phone did have that funny puzzle lock on it, but he had seen Wade unlock it enough times that he knew what to do. A second later, both of them were looking at a home screen.
Read me the numbers.
Shadow ordered as he poked the phone icon and the number pad came up, carefully entering each one that Silver told him to. The phone made that noise it did when it was calling someone. A moment later, a strained male voice answered.
Hello?
Shadow cleared his throat, answering in the deepest voice he could manage, trying to sound older than his actual age.
Who is this?
What?
Who is this?
Pete, is this Wade?
Shadow glanced towards Silver, unsure what to do.
Yes?
The man suddenly sounded a lot happier, which was very odd, especially since Wade had told them he wasn't anyone important.
Wade, I'm so glad you called.
Yes, I wanted to.
I'm just glad you reconsidered. I know it's been a long time, but I just wanted to talk. Please.
The man, Pete, interrupted him, which was pretty rude. Shadow didn't know what to say to that, as he didn't even know what it meant. He sure sounded like they knew each other.
Okay, we can talk.
Pete's tone became formal.
Wade, can we meet up?
For a long moment, Shadow and Silver only stared at each other, unsure what to do. This wasn't going anything like either of them expected. It was only supposed to be a quick phone call, not making plans to meet up or anything.
Hello?
Suddenly, Shadow remembered how Tom asked Wade to come into work for a little bit the next day after lunch, and then he was probably going to run some errands after that. That would be the best time for them to figure this out, just as long as they made sure they were left at home and didn't go to work with him.
To tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, okay. At your house?
Behind them in the bathroom, the water in the shower turned off with a squeak.
Yeah, sure, bye.
Forgetting his deeper voice, Shadow frantically poked out the red button until the screen changed and shoved it back at Silver.
Why did you tell him to come over?
I didn't. He wanted to come over here. And we don't have time. Go put it back where you found it and then help me finish this.
Shadow told him, turning back to frantically start scooping up Legos. When Wade came out of the shower, the Lego pieces were back into the bucket.
You both did your other chores?
Yes.
Any other time, Shadow would have told him to stop doing that, but he couldn't say that in front of Wade. Before he could elbow Silver or anything, he noticed the note that had been swiped from the trash was still laying on the carpet in full view. Hurriedly, Shadow stepped on it, hoping Wade wouldn't see it. He frowned, looking at both of them in turn, but didn't comment.
Okay, I got you guys toothbrushes today. Once I get dressed, I'll show you how to use them. I put them in the back room. Go decide which one you want.
He said and walked off in the direction of his bedroom. As soon as he was gone, Shadow picked up the piece of paper. It would have been safer to take it to the kitchen, but that meant running the risk that he might get caught, especially as he had to pick out a toothbrush and then be ready for when Wade was done, so that he could learn whatever he wanted them to learn. Instead, Shadow shoved it under his blankets and headed for the bathroom. He would worry about it tomorrow.